starts getting a little too bushy. Once it starts getting bushy, it bothers me. I say that, but you know me. Oh, Lordy, Lordy Beesums. Lordy Beesums. What's happening, people? Let's go in away. Woohoo, woohoo. Been an interesting few days, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. Learning a lot about what they want us to know. Like I can't stress that enough to you. That all the things we talk about, stuff we read about, these are, thanks for the like, whoever put it on there. I'm assuming it's Matt. All the stuff we talk about, it's the truth they want us to. And again, you know, I mean, true is perspective, I guess. Because we actually don't know how much of it's true, but it is what they want us to know. And when you understand that, like, what they want us to know, what we end up reading, is the best that they can put forward. It's you know, they're like, we have to say something about this, so let's say this and that, and oh, it was Craig. What's up, Craig? What's up, Craig? Appreciate you, brother. You know, when I'm reading to you about well poisoning and blood libels and all these other things, and it makes the thing I'm reading about look really, really bad. Understand that's the best version they can give. It's not actually the truth. It's not actually, you know, how bad it really is. It's just the way they want us to know. And when you start reading about well poisoning, you know, poisoning drinking water systems, and it just happens to be the same group I'm always talking about, and it's only the one group is consistently accused of such a heinous, horrendous thing. It's telling. Like, I always say it, like, I don't know what else you guys need. I don't know what else it's going to take to get you to see whatever truth is available. You know, if I'm wrong, then that should be easy to do. That should be easy to show and prove, and, you know, it shouldn't even be a situation or any sort of difficulty. You know, I always use the same analogy, but if I was sitting here telling you guys about unicorn poop and how unicorn poop is the key to it, and it's the best tasting food, and it's the unlimited resource, and it's the fuel, and I was sitting here trying to make all these arguments about unicorn poop, I would imagine it wouldn't be that difficult, and there would be more than enough people to come in and tell me how I'm wrong and stupid. But when I'm telling you the truth as they want us to know, and I'm explaining, you know, the why. Why do you hate these people so much? Why do you only talk about the same things over and over again on your feeds? Well, why do I do it? This is why. This is the why. And I just hope you guys, like, you know, you look at it for what it is. You know, there's going to be a huge group that's going to come in, and multiple fake profiles are going to try to shoot the messenger and make me sound like I'm crazy, and look at my haircut and look at my beard, or my facial hair, we'll say. Look at the ceiling of my house. Look at, and I start to think that maybe the ceiling thing is probably pedo code, but I can't prove it, so I can't take action. But, all these stupid things will get brought up instead of talking about which should tell you everything you need. Because they're here to begin with. They're angry, they're inspired, they're motivated to be here and talk their shit. So why wouldn't they just make me look stupid and point out what I'm getting wrong instead of basically pointing at themselves as being inferior? So just keep that in mind as this progresses, and we you see the numbers fluctuate, and you see the dumb comments coming through, and if they're allowed to come through. I mean, we got one. Is that going to be it, or all these weird things that happen that don't happen to anybody else? But hey, again, what does it take? What is the thing that will break through to you? What do you require? There are lots of us out here, truthers, if you will. And some of us are allowed to have huge followings. Some of us live a good life. There's the Alex Joneses of the world that live a really good life off of, I don't even know. I don't watch Alex Jones. I can't even, it's really interesting how the same put off that he like that energy that just totally puts me off to him is the same shit Trump exudes. It's the same sort of character, and go figure, they're best buddies. I mean, still, how come nobody's held Alex Jones's feet to the fire over that one? Dude, you told us to vote for Trump, and that he was going to do this, and he was going to do that, and he was going to go after the pedos, and he was going to fix this and that and the other, and Trump wasn't one of their guys, and all this other shit. I don't know. I don't know how anyone intelligent falls for Trump. That is just the weirdest of the weird to me. Like, I don't think it could be worse. Everything about him is just so off-putting. But then you look at what he does. What's up, Bob?
I have taste again.
Well, good. Get in your bed. This isn't oh. Let's go. Come on. Come on, dude. Come on, up. Come on, old man, up. Come on, I didn't go anywhere. Up. What are you doing? Let's go. Up. Okay, let's go. Come on. Up. Moses, come on. Up. There you go. Come on, dude. Old fucking dog can't go up and down the stairs like he used to. I don't know what's going on with him. I wish I knew what the problem was, but like, don't even think about it. I can tell you already are thinking about it. Don't continue thinking about it. Stay away from the plants. Sorry. I'm actually live. I'm actually responsible for things. So it's not just a situation where it's a perfect setup and all that shit. All right, dummy, come on. It's strange that there's no Trump supporters that can make any reasonable arguments. Even the whole first 100 days, but tell me what he's done. Tell me how good he's been. How many of you are just cool with the First Amendment being destroyed? You guys ready for the next round of COVID? I'd be willing to bet you all the money it's coming. They're going to hit us with another COVID. COVID sauce. Let's go. Oh, well. The other dog's outside, so he's not coming in. Or is he? Come on, dummy. What's up, fathead? Whatever. You gotta listen for the dog. Okay? Listen for the dog. When you're done with your dishes, try to let him in. So, we've been talking about blood libel and well poisoning and stuff that you wouldn't think is real, right? You just wouldn't think, like, they're not really doing that, right? But they do. And so let's go with well poisoning.
The court didn't hear you, Sergeant Blood. Yes, I was there.
Well poisoning. Now I want to see if I can find another aspect to this. When we were talking about, so we had talked about blood libel yesterday, and I had gotten to, I guess I should just keep reading it because it was pretty fascinating. Not only is it fascinating to blood libel is an anti-Semitic canard. Yes, I definitely am, you dumbass. Like, I appreciate the example. I talk about it, and I honestly thought maybe the comments were shut down again. But I talk about how stupid the responses have to be, and you're like, ooh, let me show you guys. I appreciate you. Thank you. So blood libel is an anti-Semitic canard. I want to read what that is. Anti-Semitic canard. Anti-Semitic trope. That's what it takes me to. Anti-Semitic trope. Anti-Semitic tropes, also known as anti-Semitic canards or anti-Semitic libels, are sensational reports, misrepresentations, or fabrications about Jays as an ethnicity or Jayism as a religion. Since the 2nd century, oh man, you know, since one. Since one. Even though, so when they talk about things being like the 2nd century, right? And how, you know, this is the 21st century, even though we're in the 2000s, and you hear that all the time, right? Well, if you look up the concept of zero, right? Supposedly, we didn't know about zero. We didn't understand, we didn't have a concept of zero until the 1100s to the 1300s in Western society. And maybe a little, you know, I guess the first guy to really sort of propose it was some Indian guy in like 5 something or 6 something. I'm not really sure. Inky, crazy people talk to you hear hand walking around in an empty room. Wake up! Yeah. Yeah. I'm talking to you can't even type correctly, but we should take you seriously. Again, why? You always have to ask yourself, those watching, why would anyone come in here and not want me talking about these things? Are you telling me there are atheists, Christians, Muslims, Buddhists, you name it? You telling me that there all those people out there would get mad at me for telling the truth about these things? Who's gonna get mad at the guy who thinks we should kill pedophiles and eliminate the J cult that destroys the world. Right? Like, who in the world is going to say that? Other than these fake profiles, these fake Tony Doyle profiles, right? Or are you a big pedo supporter and I'm just misreading it? Are you one of these America First Trump supporters who think we should continue to steal American tax dollars and give them to Israel by the billions? Make it make sense. I mean, any of you out there, if you think they give us this medium for free and they don't monitor it, they don't interfere with it, they don't, manipulate things, then I guess you're delusional. I don't know. But yep, I'm crazy because I'm literally reading stuff, right? Because I'm reading stuff and I'm making a bunch of points. I'm asking questions that you're not smart enough to ask or answer, and that makes me crazy. Oh, really, Tony? How do you prefer your dudes to look? How do you prefer that? Do you like your dudes with shorter hair? You like your dudes clean shaven? I'm sure you like your dudes white. So how do you like your dudes? Everyone in the comments are little NPCs. Report hate speech. Report hate speech, huh? Like, think about how stupid that is, right? Hate speech. Hate speech. You're not allowed to hate things. You can't hate things. And you're definitely not allowed to talk about it. If I don't like what you're saying, then you shouldn't be saying it. It's some really weird shit, especially considering, like, I'm reading what you people want me to know. Right? But this is the desperation. This is the shit that comes through when, again, people can't answer for what I'm saying. Like, if somebody came in here and started debunking what I was saying or pointing out some crazy shit, I wouldn't be like, oh, you guys, report him. Report that person for making me look stupid. Like, that's the only thing they have. It's desperation. Because the last thing they want is us Goyim unified and fighting against them. That's the scariest situation for them. That's why you never see them actually engage in conversation or debate. The only thing you'll ever see is them telling you to stop talking about it. Don't talk about that. You're not supposed to say those things. Look what's happening with Harvard. Right? They're literally attacking the First Amendment. Trump is destroying the Constitution over Americans exercising their First Amendment right. The First Amendment, the most important First Amendment, the number one First Amendment. And that's being made illegal. Dude, you need to chill. It's not all a conspiracy. I'm just having fun. But dude, So your idea of fun is to go make yourself look stupid talking shit on a feed where adults are having a conversation or talking about adult things. That's what your world consists of. It's fun for me to be an annoying troll. I try to go on the feeds where people are talking about real life stuff, and then I try to make it all about me. Yeah, it's fun. Really sucks that you have nothing else going on in your world, dude. Bro, he's not destroying anything because you don't know what you're talking about, right? So the First Amendment is free speech, It has 5 elements: free speech, freedom of religion, freedom of press, the right to assemble, and the right to protest. Well, and the right to, the right to redress our grievances with our government. Right to assemble and protest are the same thing. So it's assemble and protest, and then the right to redress our grievances with our government. In Harvard, you have American, like the sons and daughters of the richest, most powerful people. You should talk about whatever you want, and no one can tell you what to say. Exactly. That's what free speech is, right? What have you even spoken about? Nothing real. Yup, I'm not speaking about anything real. First of all, I'm not reading you what it says on here, and then the whole Harvard issue is not a real thing. So you have instead of there being like an effort, a group, some sort of program, something to try to go against the protesting, which again is the richest, most powerful most powerful people in the world. They send their kids to Harvard. You don't send your kid to Harvard. I just got a text because not only are they watching me, they're also texting me. And they said, "You're retarded kids." They're talking about my retarded kids. Can you imagine being so desperate to try to disrupt and you know, I just disrupt and manipulate things, but you're not smart enough to actually debunk what's being said, so you have to go after someone's kids. Like, don't most of you think people's kids are off limits? Isn't that sort of like somebody is at the bottom of their barrel, somebody is just getting their ass kicked when they start talking about people's kids, or they start dropping N-bombs, you know, shit like that. People don't start with that. They usually put out their best stuff, and then when they get in their ass kicked and they can't come up with anything else, that's when they start doing stupid shit. And he knows what he's doing, and I can't believe the United States is okay with this shit. He's definitely talking about everything real. Take your ass over to Donald Trump's channel, you ass kisser. Not talking about you, my friend, talking about the other guy in the comments. I appreciate it, Ken. I appreciate it. But that's what I'm saying. Like seriously, how many of you, instead of arguing the points being made, are going to be like, "Oh yeah, well you're kids. Oh yeah, well you're this." You know, who's going to do that? What real people do that shit? This is just what they do. This is a chosen tactic. This is how this bullshit always works. Wuhan, China, COVID-19 updates. Sure. Look up the military games. The military games that were held in Wuhan, China in August of 2019. August or September, can't remember, one of the two. The World Military Games. Same thing has happened on Event 21, or forgot what it was called, Event something or other. The same day they both happened. You know, they started the World Military Games, and then the Event 21 or Event 2001 or whatever it's called, I can't remember, also happened in the United States on the same day. But anyway, you have the children of the richest, most powerful people who are at the university, not college even, at university, at what is the most prestigious university in the United States. One of the most prestigious in the world. But when people talk about it's like when they say, "Oh, that's the Cadillac of cars," or, that's the jacuzzi of tubs. Well, Harvard is the Harvard of schools. That's the top-notch school. That goes to show their ignorance. If they want to attack children, they're ignorant, plain and simple. Ignorant now, let somebody come for their children. It'll be a whole fucking problem. Oh, right. And that's such a great point. Right? You see that all over the place where people will, condemn those talking about something, but then when it's them or their kids or their family or whatever that's in any sort of peril, They want everyone to drop what they're doing and pay attention and help and all that. And it's just, I always find it strange that people need that personal thing before they wake up. They see it. Like a neighbor of mine just went through some really sort of crazy shit. And during the thing, she said, during the whole thing, she was crying out to Jesus, please, Jesus, come help me. Jesus, Jesus, God. And there was no answer. And because of that, she's now questioning her whole belief structure. Well, my question is, like, what about all the child rape? What about all the children being murdered by Israel? What about, all the hungry, all the everything that exists? How was that not enough for you to realize your fake God isn't real? It had to be something that, it had to be something for you personally. Like for me, I have no connection to Palestine. I don't have any sort of connection to the Middle East. It's just, I think Islam is fucking stupid. I think Christianity is stupid. I hate all these control schemes, these religious control schemes. So now they're just texting the same messages over and over again, right? Like this is what I'm saying. Why would anybody be texting me when they could be saying these things in the comments? They just know it'll make them look like a piece of shit, so they won't say it. And now they're and these are supposedly people in California, right? So you have to think, they set their alarm for 5:30 so they can come on here and because they hate me so much, they want to watch me every day and blah, blah, blah. If you depend on Jesus, he will let you down every time, every fucking time. Listen, you're talking real to me, so you got my back. Of course, anybody who, if you oppose child rape and you think we should kill pedos, we can disagree on lots of shit, but I'm going to be in your corner at the end of the day. We can work on those other things, but if you don't think children are off limits or you think children are off limits, then we're cool. If you don't, that's not something that can change. There's nothing that's going to convince you as an adult that, oh wait, children are off limits? I didn't know that. You're great entertainment. I love this because that's supposed to be like this insult to me, right? So, of all the TV shows that exist, all the movies that have ever been made, all the different YouTube channels that are live right now and or uploaded videos in the last 24 hours, of all the things in the world, I am the most entertaining. I'm so entertaining that you'll watch me day after day call you a pedophile and talk about how we need to eliminate your cult. And yet that's entertaining. And I'm supposed to be like, oh, that hurts. Oh, that hurts my feelings. This is how stupid they are. This is, if you open up the books on Israel, you demonize Israel, stupid. It's that same level of stupidity. And it's the same people doing it. It's the same bot profiles doing it. And you just, like I always say, it's not like they're going to come out here and be like, oh yeah, he's right about everything. There really is the J control scheme and we really are this disgusting cult and, we're really scared of him. So we try to infiltrate his feed so we can, make people think he's crazy. So then they don't listen to, like, they're not going to come out and say that shit. You have to look at what they do. And if I was wrong to the point where they're here and they spend hours, day after day after day watching me, well, how does that equate to I must be wrong? I don't, like, you have to see it. You know, they're telling you all you need to see. And when they're desperate by trying to bring up my kids or talking shit about my wife or whatever it is, instead of just addressing the things being said, you know, like how I look at the news event and the historical record and all that, and I address it, to think that they don't do the same thing to me, it tells you everything. It tells you everything. Yeah, sure. I'm entertaining. Great. If it's entertaining for me to call you guys out for being the pedophile cult that you are, it just shows you how stupid you are. And it shouldn't be surprising to people, right? Like it's the exact same shit that they do on the highest levels. The big picture. Same shit. You know, they tell you everything that they talk about, though. If you start talking about them in any way, they're quick to call it anti-Semitism. Because that's the only option they have, and they've tricked they've manipulated your way of thinking. You don't realize that anti-Semitism is 2 words. Trump has the Coalition to Combat Anti-Semitism, spelled ANTI-SEMITISM. They forgot to spell it the new way. Because in 2020, they decided that ANTI-SEMITISM, under like federal legislation, like I don't know how you go about changing the spelling of a word, how you even petition that, how you even begin to make that happen, let alone, you know, have it heard and have it decided on by the government. But they decide that it should now be spelled ANTISEMITISM, all one word, no caps. And they're given reason for doing that. Anti-Semitism is absolutely real. And it's something you should be proud of. The reason they did that is because they didn't want us, Goyim, they didn't want the people to think that anti-Semitism opposed something called Semitism. The problem is, Semitism is a thing. So, just so you guys know, without there being any confusion, we're going to look up Semitism definition, put that into the Google machine. You see that? Okay. Then we click on the Merriam-Webster version of it. Oh, the old dictionary. See?
Semitism.
See? We're on the Semitism. Let's go, dude. Come on. OCD dog.
Semitism.
Okay, Semitism.
Semitism.
Okay? Semitism. 1A, come on. You stupid, nasty dog. 1A, see? Gives 2 definitions, 1A and B, and number 2. 1A, Semitic character or qualities. Now, Semitic is a term for all of the people of the region. Whether they're the Egyptians, the black people, or the Palestinians, or, you know, the Syrians, the Iraqis, the Iranians, you name it. Those are all Semitic people. 1B, a characteristic feature of a Semitic language occurring in another language. So when we say things like, that guy has all the chutzpah, we're using a Yiddish word in our English language, right? That's a Semitic character. Number 2, okay, policy or predisposition favorable to Jays. You see that? Policy or predisposition favorable to Jays, which loosely translates to supremacy. Supremacy. It is supremacy. When you have the policy, which is the rules and regulations, and the predisposition, which is the attitude in which people go into the situation. You know, hey, we're going to go debate over whether Israel and the Jays should get more money for this. The predisposition going into it is favorable to them. Oh, cool. Well, then let's just, we already know what we're going to vote on. You know, that's what policy and predisposition means, which is supremacy. And you can't show me, I mean, nobody else even has a word like that, let alone the idea that is that in itself is a policy. That the policy is to have a policy or predisposition favorable to any group. And then why would there be that? Why would anyone agree to that? Why would anyone other than them agree that they should have the policy and the predisposition favorable to them? What did they do to earn it? You know, what warrants such favoritism, such supremacy? I don't belong to the National Socialist Zionist Party. I don't know what you're talking about. Again, more fake bullshit. Start bringing up the Holocaust and all that shit. Go ahead. You just don't know what you're talking about. If we were talking about, you know, how to like build a company from the ground up, or how to, you know, design a building and then put that together and put together all the pieces necessary, hire all the right people and all that. If we were talking about how to cook a souffle or some shit like that, I would have no idea. I would lose that conversation. But when it comes to this particular thing, you guys don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Look at all of the comments acting like they know what I do outside of here. Like, just think about how... So instead of talking about what I'm talking about, all of these random non-Jays, just regular old Americans are mad at me at, you know. If they're in the United States, it's either 9 or 6 a.m. And all these people, they have something to say, but they can't actually talk about this. I've been to Auschwitz and I've seen it myself. I've been to a place, so that means I saw what supposedly happened 70 years ago. Gotcha. You know, there was a in the 90s, there was this J dude who actually did that. He took a camera and he went to all of these different places like Auschwitz, and he just filmed everything, and he showed that the scenario wasn't conducive to be able to do what they say they did. And there's lots of evidence to show that it's all just a narrative. You know, especially the fact that it wasn't a narrative until after it supposedly happened. You know, there's just so much to it. I really suggest that people go watch the movie Hollywoodism. I always put a link to that in my description. But Hollywoodism will explain everything. It tells you... The best thing about Hollywoodism is that they made it. It's not a truther movie by any means. It's this crazy ass... It's like the Oscars, but in movie form, you know? It's this like digital blowjob for the industry, and them just blowing themselves and being like, look at what we did. Look at how we control everything. Look at. And then if I were to make Hollywoodism and I made a word for word remake, except when they say they, or when they say we did this and we did that, I would say they or them. And I used people of color instead of Jays. Everybody would talk about anti-Semitic tropes, and this is so terrible. How dare you say all these libel things, and the Jays control Hollywood, and they invented it and they used it to manipulate the world and the United States into being the country they wanted. And how dare you? Even if it was a word for word remake, because they made that video. Hollywoodism will explain it all. If you think I'm nuts and you think I'm wrong, and just go watch Hollywoodism and then tell me what I'm getting wrong. Because I even my wife, I made my wife watch it, and she was reluctant when she watched it, and she was even like, look, I didn't want to think this way, but they leave you no choice. They brag about all of it. They brag about how the American dream is actually the J dream. And the reason why you think history is what it is, the reason why you think government is what it is, any of it, is because they wanted us to think that way, and they used Hollywood to manipulate the situation into what they wanted. The link to it is going to be in the description of this video. But if you need it right now, just go to a previous video, and it's in every description. Because it's the most important thing. There are plenty of things I suggest that you watch. There's lots of good shit out there. And you have to always watch it with that thought in your mind that it's probably a CIA produced documentary. Like, if it's allowed to have hundreds of thousands, millions of views, it's probably not legit, like 100%, but it's always good information. Let's see, is anybody going to be able to have any sort of comment about how, about what I'm wrong about? Or are we just going to keep saying dumb shit? Like, look at the comments. Why is there all of these fake profiles here mad and talking shit about the guy who thinks we should stop giving all of our money to Israel so they can murder people? And that we should, at the very least, use that $3.8 billion a year base that we give to Israel. We could use that to combat the pedophilia, to make an official government, government empowered Gordon Flowers. Alex Rosen. Why do so many fucking America First Trumpanzees not understand this part? Did you not see Trump pushing and pulling Netanyahu's chair? Didn't see it the other way around for sure. I saw a subsurface in the Pacific Ocean right in front of me one time. Also been on one. Can confirm submarines are in fact real. Sure you can. We should just believe you. Right? We should just believe you, because out of the, handful of people that are found this feed this morning, you're here. And what's more important than anything is not the genocide, it's not the pedophilia, it's my belief in submarines. That's what's of dire importance to so many people, apparently. Instead of coming on here and openly condemning this cult, this disgusting cult that mutilates and molests their own. If they do that to their own children, what do you think they're willing to do to us? It's called Metitza Bipa, or Bipa, or something like that. I don't know how to speak their shit. But it's the process of circumcising, cutting, and then sucking. Metitza Bipa. Why do we tolerate that as a culture, as a human society? Why do we accommodate anybody who does that shit like that? And according to them, it's one of the most important mitzvahs in their cult. One of the most important aspects of their cult is the circumcision ritual. It's why Hanukkah is celebrated. You know, the one holiday you know of theirs that is, you know, the Hanukkah song by Adam Sandler. And time to celebrate Hanukkah. Why would that song be so popular if not for the fact that Jays pull the strings, right? Like, how many Christians were like, "Oh, I just love that Hanukkah song." It's so fucking goofy. I know as a kid, the only reason I like that song is because that one line where he says, "So drink your gin and tonica and smoke your marijuana." I was like, "Yay, I'm a dumb kid. That's awesome." But the song is about telling you, like, hey, you know, we control everything, right? He just named off all these people. But the whole thing happens to you know, Hanukkah is all about circumcision. It's all about the war that was fought so they could circumcise. Because that they went around the countryside killing their own who refused to circumcise. Like, it's the craziest fucking story. And you know, nobody knows about it. I didn't know about it. Obviously I knew about Hanukkah because I'm forced to. Here in Detroit, they erect a 30-foot menorah downtown that is, you know, completely paid for. The fire at the top is, I don't know if it's actual fire or if they do lights. Either way, it's all paid for by taxpayer dollars. 30-foot menorah. You know, for this holiday that only they celebrate and that is, you know, all about them. It's not about us. You know, the thing about Christmas is the furthest thing from a Christian holiday at this point. You know, I love Christmas because Christmas is all inclusive. And you can celebrate it with literally none of the religious aspects. The tree, the presents, all that shit. It's fantastic. People are at their best. They're all so nice to each other, and everything's just so much better during Christmas season. But it has nothing to do with, like, it's not exclusive. The reality is, you know, Christians and Muslims, they both want you to be a part of their thing. They want to save your soul by you know, manipulating you into believing their way. They have the best intentions. It's fucked up, and you know, it's not real, but at heart, your average Christian just wants you to be, you know, spiritually safe. Same thing with the Muslims. It's really interesting how they've convinced Christians and Muslims to fight each other when they literally, like, everything is the same. It's all just the same shit, just different characters, different dates, but basically all the same shit. And the reality is, all three are Abrahamic religions, right? They all come from the father of the J people, Abraham. But the two, like, you know, you could just be like, I'm a Christian now. And now you're considered a Christian, and nobody really is going to bat an eye at it. You could just start going to church, and that'll be okay. Same thing with Islam. You could just be like, I'm a Muslim now, I converted, I'm going to go to a synagogue, or I'm going to go to a mosque, and I'm going to just try to get involved. And they would welcome you, and they would bring you in, and they would convert you. You don't get to do that when it comes to the J. They don't want you to convert. They want you to be a Christian. Now, that's ideal, because Christians have been brainwashed into believing that the bad guys in the Bible, because Satan's not the bad guy in the Bible, the bad guys in the Bible, the people that kill your superhero who happens to be Christian God's only kid, that those people are Christian God's favorite chosen people. Like, it's so brilliant in its execution, and then it's you know, the perpetuated bullshit that comes from it. the protection, the buffer zone that's created by that belief structure. And they would much rather you believe that you're a second tier servant than be like, no, I'm part of you guys now. I converted. It just doesn't work that way. Look at look at the dumb comments I'm getting. Bro, he says, you should go outside and breathe some fresh air and just relax. Don't take life so seriously. What kind of piece of shit are you? You don't know. First of all, I was outside when video started, so shows how dumb you are. Secondly, the windows are open. I have lots of fresh air coming through. But to think like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You don't think it directly affects you, so you shouldn't care about it. You shouldn't talk about it. All religions are like that. No, they're not. All religions want you to be a part of it, except for them. They're the only ones that want you to be a part of something else. And as I was saying earlier, anti-Semitism is literally you not believing in them having policy or predisposition favorable to them. So whenever they claim something is anti-Semitism, it's right. There's a reason why they don't say anti-J. They're anti-J. That's anti-Jism. They don't say that because they don't care if you believe in their shit or not. What they want you to believe is that they get the policy or the predisposition favorable to them. So they throw out this anti-Semitism shit. As this, it's weird that it works because they're telling the truth. You've just been tricked into thinking you need to defend against it. You shouldn't be proud of it. It's really interesting. My grandfather is a converted J from Catholic, and his whole family has always been J, and they still love us people, and they're shitty to some, are very, sure. It's a disgusting cult. Let's just say they didn't even commit genocide, right? Let's just say they weren't genocidal psychopaths who are constantly caught raping children in Hollywood and all that other shit. Let's just go based on just their basic shit. Do any of you think it's acceptable that babies have their penises sucked on for anything? Like, my kid could get bit in the dick by a fucking cobra, and I need to suck the poison out, and my kid would have to die because that's just too far. Sorry. And yet these moils, they go into it knowing they're going to be a moil, and that's literally all they're going to do all day. That's the only thing they do as moils is go around performing circumcisions. Brit Milah. With or without the Metitza Bipa. It's just a choice. Look at all these dumb comments. Look at this. Why isn't anybody telling me what I'm wrong about? Why are they just trying to get attention? Why are they trying to disrupt and get attention instead of addressing the things that are being said? It should tell you all you need to know. They're here for a reason. They're here to disrupt. They're here to manipulate. So why don't they focus on the thing that I'm saying that's wrong and make me look as dumb as I can look? It's the same reason why you'll never see an interview on TV where it's someone like me, sitting in front of multiple J's, a panel of whoever, throwing these things out there and letting them debunk it. So then, all these misconceptions about them and all this that they could just prove it untrue. Again, they're destroying the First Amendment over this. Trump has destroyed the First Amendment over this. And the fucked up part is most people don't even realize this has been part of the plan for a while. So Kobe died on a Sunday. Obviously, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, everybody's talking about Kobe, Kobe, Kobe. Until the funeral day. The funeral day, nobody seems to even bother. I guess his wife called the media and asked them not to show up to the funeral, so there are literally no pictures of the Kobe funeral. No tabloid journalists, no nothing. She must have called everybody. Not even like random passerbyers or anything. No drones, no nothing. Nobody took any pictures of the Kobe funeral. Makes total sense, right? But the Wednesday after that was when one of the Trump impeachments was scheduled to come to an end. So that was when the news cycle switched and started talking about Trump. I mean, they still talked about Kobe, but they talked about Trump. Well, the Tuesday before that, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, that Tuesday, Trump signed the legislation with war criminal under indictment Netanyahu standing next to him with his hand on his shoulder, that said all colleges and universities needed to have a pro-Israel curriculum and actively remove any BDS or anti-Israel sentiment on the campus at the risk of losing federal funding. This is old Trump. This is first Trump did this. And now it's coming back around that because these students, these kids, the children of the richest and most powerful people, in the place where you do this, in college, that's where people do their protesting. Wow, my knee just went out. Holy shit. They're getting arrested, they're getting expelled, and Trump is taking away Harvard's federal funding along with their tax-exempt status. And all of these parents who paid for their kids' education up front to go to the best school in the fucking group, none of them are coming out and saying anything about it. You never get to see, like, no news people ever interview the like leaders of the protests. They might interview some fringe chick that they put out there, some plant, who they ask her, why are you here protesting? And she goes, I don't know. Why are we here protesting? Because that's real. That's real. But to think that like all of these America First fucking racist ass Trump supporters are okay with this, are okay with American students being jailed, arrested, kicked out of school, whatever it is, for doing a First Amendment protected activity, protesting against a foreign country using American bombs and planes and just money to commit genocide against another foreign country. I just, it's really a weird spot because I really just don't understand where your motivation is. Thoughts on MK Ultra? MK Ultra is the greatest trick MK Ultra ever did was convincing people that they dismantled it, that they disbanded it. But MK Ultra is exactly what we're experiencing, and what MK Ultra did to black people, it is the quintessential MK Ultra shit. MK Ultra is the belief, or is the program that would kidnap people, however they would acquire the people, and then break them psychologically so they could reprogram them with multiple personalities. And they figured out how to do all this. Like it sounds like crazy conspiracy shit, but it's all well documented. Like it's all government real shit. And so they would create these robots who would not know that they were created. They would be doing something at home and the phone would ring and hello, and the voice on this other line would be like the pyramid sits upside down Tuesday in the park under the rainstorm. You know, some shit that you'd never hear that combination of words in your real life. And when that happens, the second personality takes over and the person will do things that they wouldn't normally do, like with Sirhan, the guy who, took part in killing Bobby Kennedy. Robert Kennedy.
Like Kanye coming out as gay now?
Sure. Sirhan doesn't deny that he did it. He says, look, it's pretty obvious I did it. I was, the pictures don't, I'm there, I'm holding the body. The only thing is, I don't remember it. I was at home, the phone rang, and then suddenly I was getting my picture taken next to this body. By the way, Bobby Kennedy was shot back here and back here, and Sirhan was in front of him, 4 or 5 feet, 10 feet. But when it comes to black people, they did the best. They created a situation using one of their biggest pawns, which is Spike Lee, who is just a nasty, gross little fucking weirdo who looks just like them, except he has dark skin. But he's a real big reason why, you step on somebody's shoe. Like, basically, black people have been convinced to commit crime over a word. People who would normally live their lives without issue or anything like that, they can hear a white person say nigger and they just lose their fucking mind. They go into a different sort of personality where they will commit crime. And these crimes only benefit the Jays. The black person goes crazy and beats up the white person. Now the white person has to go to the hospital where, the doctors all make money, the insurance companies all make money. The black person goes to jail. The jails are owned by them. When they do go to trial, it's all J judges, J lawyers. Like, it's all for their benefit. And it's another one of these scraping the bottom of the barrel things, right? When you are losing the intellectual argument, when you just are basically getting your ass kicked, that's when you pull out that shit. Because you're just desperately trying to hurt that person who has been hurting you with their words, with the things they've said, they've hurt you. So now you want to hurt them back. He called me a cracker. That you would ever get upset over words just says a lot, especially when it's words from someone you don't even know. Some dumb redneck starts walking up to you calling you names, and you're going to get upset and commit crime over it? You're not just going to laugh at that desperate loser? But if you follow the ladder all the way up with MK Ultra, just like with anything else, you're going to run into the Jays. All these other conspiracies, all these other things are just the tentacles of the monster. By the way, if you're watching, like, share, and sub. Fucking helps, man. Take 2 seconds to share it on Facebook. Take even less time to click the like, click. Just click. Help out. Unless you are a pedo supporter, genocide supporter, racist, all these other things. I know a lot of you might not necessarily agree with me, but do you know why you don't agree with me? Do you understand what's happening? What could you possibly disagree with me about? What have I said that was wrong? You know, all I do is point out the truth. Oh, really? So we have a guy who's actually stationed on a submarine, and it's 9:45 Eastern, and he's on his submarine watching my YouTube channel, right? That makes sense. I believe you. You know, it's just like everything else. I mean, again, if you look at the narrative, it's going to go. So in the 50s, in the early 50s, I think it's 52, the government, just decided they wanted nuclear-powered submarines. The submarines that existed before that are exactly what I think we have now. Boats that can go underwater. You know? They still have the tube sticking out. They still have certain aspects. They might even be able to go down 10, 20 feet. But to have nuclear-powered submarines, in the 50s, they just decided they needed nuclear-powered submarines. The guy who was raised a J and converted to Protestant, Rickover, he just invented it. He just invented the nuclear power plant that could be inside a submarine. And if you believe they have these subs that can go 300 meters down and stay underwater for 6 months and all these other things, you're fucking stupid. You probably believe that astronauts got stuck in space for 9 months. And we're eating fresh fruit and vegetables for more than half the time. Like, it's just stupid. It's just stupid. And if anybody thinks like you can believe what military people say to you, you're foolish. You know, unless it's somebody from the military who completely denounces the military, then you have to understand, like, they're sworn to secrecy. They're sworn to narratives. They have to tell you what they have to tell you. They're not going to tell you, some dumb civilian, the truth. But if you look at the history of it, it's just stupid. I just saw a video, I think it was yesterday, where somebody took just a regular old water bottle filled with air and pulled it down this tube underwater, showing what happens to the thing, how it just gets crushed like fucking flat, starting at, like, 15 meters or 15 feet down or so. 15, 20 feet down, this thing's flat as a fucking pancake. And if you think they have giant metal tubes the size of 80 school buses filled with pressurized air that can then sink and go down in the water and swim around like a fucking giant whale, you're just foolish. I don't know what to tell you. Good luck finding any footage of that, because you won't. You won't. But I don't trust military people. You're somebody who wanted who signed up for something knowing there was a good chance you were going to kill brown people. You got some fucking issues there, boy. But the thing about the submarines is, like, again, there's going to be people that come in here and talk shit like they've looked into it. They know anything about it. Oh yeah, they can pull oxygen out of the water because, water is made of H2O, apparently. This is something we all just know, right? Cat Williams actually said it a long time ago. If we know the ingredients, how come we can't make water? How come we can't vacuum out a room full of where it's a vacuum, where it's an empty space, pump, 1 part oxygen and 2 parts hydrogen in there, and we suddenly get a bunch of water? Why doesn't that happen? But you believe they can pull oxygen out of the water, even when they're super, super deep. First they have to desalinate it, so they put it through the desalination process, and then they hit the water with an electrical current, which separates the oxygen from the hydrogen, and then they collect all the oxygen molecules, and that's how they breathe. You believe that, right? So then they're just creating all of this hydrogen and dumping it into the ocean, or I don't even fucking know. It's just stupid. It's just stupid. Every single video you can see of people supposedly inside a submarine, they're not being affected by the motion of the submarine, of the water, even a little bit. They can crash through ice 10 feet per second, or 10 meters per second, starting 100 meters down, or maybe it was 100 feet down, I'm not sure. But ascending so fast, it's 10 units per second. Smash through the ice, and there's not a single movement by the people inside. If you've ever been on a plane, or a boat, or a train, or in like a camper as it was driving down the road, or anything like that, you can feel it. If there's any sort of like slight little bump or anything, you go, whoa, whoa. Not in a submarine, though. It's all just stupid. And the thing about submarines, again, I just find it fascinating. I can be talking about the most horrendous shit in the world. The genocide that's happening. The crazy pedo stuff everywhere. Blah, blah, blah. I can be talking about this stuff, and these people have nothing to say. But they definitely are mad because I don't believe in submarines. What kind of piece of shit are you? But at the end of the day, people argue what they can argue, right? They know they can't argue any of that other stuff. Whether they believe it or not, that's not the thing. It's what they actually have the capability of arguing. So when it comes to submarines, we all can say shit like, yeah, they are. I've seen one in a harbor. I seen them on TV all the time. All the time I seen them. I watched Red October. I did. I saw it. They launched the torpedoes, and yeah, I saw it. That's your, my uncle works on submarines. Or the random profile that comes in just happily talking about their military experience. I mean, think about it. Let's just say you did identify yourself as a former submariner. Meaning you now know the inner workings of the submarine and how all that shit happens to function, and probably some top secret shit. And you're giving out your identity so that just in case, since it's very unlikely, but just in case somebody happens to be watching this feed and looking for people to identify themselves, now they've identified you and they can come get you and get whatever secrets they want out of you. But hey, that makes sense. This is all, it's all manipulation. Shireen Abu Akleh, what? Yeah. Shireen Abu Akleh was an American, Palestinian American woman who was press, a 20-year vet of the industry, one of Al Jazeera's top reporters. But this American, she's an American, Palestinian American woman with press credentials who was also a Christian. She is shot by the Israelis on purpose during there was no situation happening or anything. She was just walking with her friend. She had on a press flak jacket and a helmet that said press on it, so there was no misconstruing who she was. And an Israeli sniper shot her, and then as she was bleeding out, shot her in the face, managed to sneak the shot into her face. As she was bleeding out on the ground, anytime anybody went to go try to help her, they shot all around her. It's just disgusting. right? But then they had the audacity to say, oh, the Palestinians did it. They didn't do it. They lied and lied and lied and lied and lied and lied and lied until they couldn't lie anymore. And the whole thing was exposed. And then they were like, okay, yeah, our guy did it, but we're not going to tell you who it was, and they're not going to pay any punishments because, you know, they were just doing what they were supposed to do. And the crazy part is her murder ends up being the cover up, right? Because the real story is her funeral, which is 2 days later, unlike the Jays who can have funerals later that day. Her funeral was a couple days later, and part of the Palestinian Christian custom is to, you know, when it's a martyr like she was, this really important person, they carry the casket from the church to the cemetery. It's just part of their culture, part of their ritual. Well, let's just say her murder was on a Tuesday. On the Wednesday, the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, kidnapped her brother and told him that they're not allowed to do that. They're not allowed to have the standard funeral. You know, they're not allowed to carry the casket and sing Palestinian songs and all that shit. And they drop him off, and he runs to the press and tells them what happened. Hey, they just kidnapped me. They did all this. We're going to go ahead with the funeral anyway. The funeral happens on a Thursday, where the Israelis, the IDF, show up and attack a fucking funeral. Flashbangs, smoke grenades. They're using batons and clubs and shit to hit the people. They hit the people carrying the casket so much that the one person dropped it, but they were able to save it. I wish, and I'm sure Shireen would agree, that they would have dropped the casket and her body would have fell out. Because that would have made it, as horrible as that would have been, that would have been international news. That would have been a huge fucking deal. But the Netanyahus afterward admitted that they didn't want the world to see the Palestinians showing solidarity and carrying the casket and waving the flags and singing the songs. So they'd much rather the world see them attack a funeral, because they know there's no repercussions for that shit. And the reason most of you are saying, "What? I don't remember this," is because the day that she was shot is the day that the grocery store shooting happened. So of course we were more concerned with the grocery store shooting that had happened on American soil. You know, because we could be at the grocery store. And if we're at the grocery store, then we could be shot. You know, that's how that mentality works. And of course it's a government operation. If you watch the footage of it, the guy that does the shooting, he operates like a military man. He's accurate as fuck. White dude only targeting black people. He shoots the people outside, shoots the guy in the door, goes in, posts up against the wall, reloads.
Where was this one at?
Philadelphia or some shit, I don't know.
I mean, it wasn't one of the schools, right?
No, that's Thursday. 2 days later, the reason you didn't hear about the funeral being attacked is because that was the day where the the school shooting, where the 19 kids and the 2 teachers, all from the same classroom, were killed. And yet all of the other parents in the school had to give DNA samples to be able to get their kids back. They knew that it all happened in one classroom, and you know who the victims are and everything like that. The kids probably know who their parents are. You wouldn't need to get DNA samples, but apparently that was the case. Ulvade or something like that. But every time there's some big shit happening that we should be paying attention to, like the IDF. I mean, has any of you ever heard of a government agency attacking a funeral? Have you ever heard of something so fucking disgusting? Look at the comments. Look at how desperate they are to try to, like, they're too stupid to say what I'm wrong about. They're too desperate to just keep their mouth shut. So they're desperately trying to interfere with the feed because they don't want you guys realizing this shit. Again, have you ever heard of a government agency attacking a fucking funeral? That's unheard of. That's off limits on the highest degree. Funerals are sacred. These are grieving loved ones who are just in so much pain as it is, and you're gonna attack it? But again, because they control our media, they control what we see, and they can do these false flag, October 7th false flag operations at any time. They just manipulate us like that. You guys know that no Israelis died or were taken hostage on October 7th, 2023. It's all fake. The entire narrative is just as dumb and fake as you can possibly imagine. All these Hamas agents, actors, because it's not like there's a Palestinian government. So then there is no Palestinian military. Unlike Israel, who had a tremendous military before they were even existing, apparently. It was the Israeli military that took over Acre and set up Israel for the first time. Strange how that works. But, what was I going to say? I get lost in all these different things. All this different evidence is just everywhere. It's just all everywhere. And why anybody wouldn't be like directly opposed. Tell us in explicit detail, thousands of people could collaborate on such operations in unison without being caught or whistleblown by peers. Well, there are lots of people that are actually whistleblowing this stuff. But if all of the whistleblowers, all the people involved are part of the cult, then lying to the Goyim isn't that big a deal. And I don't know what thousands of people you're talking about. There just weren't. The claim is that because they still can't give you an accurate number, around 1100, or you'll hear around 1200, people in Israel were killed on October 7th. They don't say around 1100 Israelis were killed. They say people in Israel, because almost immediately the settlers and the IDF, they started attacking Palestinians. And they immediately claimed that around 1500 Hamas had been killed. But see, I do more than most of you do, right? So on or around 2 weeks after the October 7th, I had gotten a hunch, right? I just got a hunch because when Russia supposedly invaded Ukraine like a week after the Prince Andrew thing shut down. Speaking of, Virginia grew free. I just had this again hunch because I've seen it so many times. You saw it with Sandy Hook and you saw it with all these other things where it comes out later that pages were made within hours before the event happened or the day before the event happened. So when the Russia thing happened, I think I was just looking up how are Russia and Israel connected. And I got that hunch. I found the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and they consider it an unprovoked invasion, of course. I wanted to know, I went to the Wikipedia page and I wanted to see when that page was created. And lo and behold, that page was created the day before the supposed invasion took place. Now, when it came down to October 7th, I just had that feeling again. So I went to the Israel-Hamas War 2023 official Wikipedia page. And it's funny because since then, they've adjusted it. They've made it much more difficult to be able to do this now. But back then, all you had to do was click on edit history and then just click back 1,000 times till you got through to the first edit. And so I can't tell you exactly when when the page was created. I'm not tech savvy enough. I don't know if that's considered the first edit or if the first edit was made after the page was created. I'm not sure, but the unprovoked, unknown, completely surprise attack that Hamas did on October 7th was said to have taken place at 6:30 a.m. local time, October 7th, 2023. The first edit on the Wikipedia page, and mind you, this isn't secondhand information, this is my own personal experience. The first edit was made at 6:22 a.m. October 7th, 2023. So 8 minutes before the thing happened, the first edits are being made to the Wikipedia page. And so I decided to read the edits, and I ended up reading until about 9:30 that day as far as the edits went. I read the first 3 hours worth of edits. And it was basically like 5 or 6 people who were, each person had a part where one person would add stuff, one person would clean it up, spellings and all that shit. One person would reset it into the paragraph where it might have fit better. There were all these weird little things happening. But it was clearly an operation because if you went to try to edit it, it said that you had to have had like 60 previous edit history on Wikipedia for you to be considered by the first group. And then once you were approved by the first group, then a second group would approve you. And if you got approved by the second group, then you could edit this page. So it wasn't like it was just a free-for-all editing page. But, within that first 3 hours, you could see them laying out the narrative for the next couple days. And one of the things that it said was that they killed 1,500 Hamas within that, immediately. The other thing it said was that Hamas launched 5,000 rockets in the first 20 minutes. It happened so fast that nobody was able, there wasn't any footage of it because it just happened so fast. 5,000 rockets in 20 minutes. That's 4 rockets per second for 20 minutes. These people who can't afford to rebuild their houses, who can't afford medicines, who have a complete blockade around the Gaza Strip and all that shit. These people who own whenever they're filmed, they only seem to have rocks and sticks and shit. Occasionally there'll be a gun. But for the most part, they're seen throwing rocks at tanks. Whenever they're not being filmed, they somehow have all this weaponry. And this is just that, this should be the way that you think, even though it's probably not. But how much do rockets cost? How much would 5,000 rockets cost? How many rocket launchers would you need to be able to launch 5,000 rockets in 20 minutes? 4 rockets per second. Reloading and all that shit. How does that even work? I would assume you would have to have lots of rocket launchers to be able to launch 5,000 rockets in 20 minutes. Where did they get all this stuff from? How did it get into the area to begin with? And you see this shit just like reading these narratives, reading how Netanyahu's going to do this and that, and and just all this shit that took place within the first 3 hours that hadn't even happened yet. And then you have to, again, you have to be smarter than they want you to be, right? So 3 weeks after October 7th, October 21st, 2023, here in Detroit, there was a woman named Samantha Wohl. Look up the story if you want to, because I'm lying, right? Samantha Wohl was a high-ranking J in the Detroit area. She was a community leader, as she was called. She, it's not like she necessarily had a job per se, but she was just this leader who lived this great life, was paid really well, and was trying to bridge the gap between blah, blah, blah. Just the standard bullshit. Nothing was wrong with her. She was the greatest person ever. I can't believe blah, blah, blah. She was found stabbed to death at around 6:30 a.m., 5:30, 6:30, depending on what story you're reading, a.m. on October 21st, 2023. Come to find out, her boyfriend at the time got arrested because he called the police and said that he did it. But then he was, and it was all kept hush-hush. His identity was kept secret. This all came out after the fact. But he was actually let go because he said that he took a double dose of his psych meds that morning. Because he was so fucked up, he was taking psych meds. He took a double dose that morning and then hit his vape pen 4 times. And because of that, he called the police and said, I think I killed my girlfriend. I don't remember doing it, but I think I did it. Blah, 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 blah. Then he was given immunity so he could testify on the stand. And when he was testifying, he just got eviscerated by the defense. But it didn't matter because he was given immunity, right? But she was found stabbed to death, a brutal murder scene, yada, yada, yada. Ended up getting blamed on this black guy, Michael Jackson Bolanos, who happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, but was systematically proven to have not done the murder. Didn't have, they supposedly found 2 microscopic blood dots on his black jacket. Couldn't be seen by the naked eye, but they could be seen by magical computer systems that found 2 microscopic blood dots on his jacket after he supposedly stabbed a woman a bunch of times in the face and the neck. Like, if you're stabbing somebody like that, blood is just going everywhere. And it was, it was such an insane trial. The judge should have recused himself because he was a J. And to assume that a J judge doesn't know a high-ranking J community member in the same community is insulting. It's insulting. I'm sure they were at numerous events together and whatnot. That's how that community works. But the way that prosecution and trials and shit go like that. Like, the prosecution doesn't just try to get you for every little thing they can, whether or not they think they have a good case or not. The prosecution only goes after shit that they know they can prove. Anything else weakens their case. So they just go after the things they feel they 100% can prove. And yet the judge, who again was a J, added a bunch of charges. Was like, no, this isn't good enough. You have to add hate crime charges. You have to do, because it was J. It had to be all these extra things that the prosecution was like, we can't prove this. Like, why are you doing this? The judge was interrupting the opening statements and it was just a farce. It was a total farce. And since they couldn't find Michael Jackson Bolanos guilty on anything, they ended up finding him guilty on lying to the police, of which he was given an 18-month to 25-year sentence. You ever heard of that one before? You ever heard of somebody getting sentenced to 18 months to 25 years for lying to the police? Like, what the fuck world are we living in when that's the case? Where the system does everything it can to get you for murder, and because they can't, they just make up some bullshit, and then they give you a sentence that they can just keep you in for as long. Well, it's 18 months to 25 years. They can keep you as long as they want. You know, to prevent you from actually being able to talk, right? But as fucked up as all of that is, her boyfriend admitting to it and then being given immunity, the blood dots, the insane effort that went into figuring this out. Like, the police found Michael Jackson's Bolanos's. They went around and found either like doorbell cameras or security cameras from all these different places. They put so much effort into solving this murder that they just don't do here in Detroit. Well, not into solving, into blaming this one guy. The defense actually asked that the judge recuse himself because he was so fucking blatantly, obviously one-sided. And he was like, no, I'm not recusing myself. Yeah, how dare you use those anti-Semitic tropes saying that just because I'm a J and she's a J, that, you know, like all this obvious shit, right? But the best part is that, remember, she was found dead at 6:30 a.m., 5:30 or 6:30 a.m. on the morning of October 21st, after she had gone to a wedding the night before and was so drunk that apparently she left her front door open. I've been wasted many, many times, never woke up and my front door was wide open. Never happened. She drove home from a wedding so drunk that she left front door open. But she was found dead at 5:30 to 6:30 a.m. on October 21st. I keep saying this for a reason. The newspapers, the morning newspapers on October 22nd, the very next day, said that the funeral that over 1,000 people attended was beautiful. Go ahead, let that sink in. This woman is found dead in an unsolved murder. They don't have any suspects. They haven't decided to make Michael Jackson Bolanos the patsy yet, so they really don't know anything. She's found dead at 6:30, 5:30, 6:30 a.m. And basically 24 hours later, when the next day's newspapers come out, they talk about her funeral that over 1,000 people attended. How do you have a funeral? What's up, Matt? Good to see you. How do you have a funeral for someone within hours of them being found murdered? It's not like there's some old person where you had it all set up. You knew they were going to die. You pulled the plug. They died. You know, you did like that. Even that would be pretty fucking incredible to be able to pull that off. But this woman had, you know, isn't there an investigation that needs to happen? Isn't there an autopsy that needs to be done? Isn't there a hole that needs to be dug? Aren't there relatives that need to be flown in and all this other shit? Why would you have a funeral for someone that you could have tomorrow or the next day like normal people do? Some people, you know, it's a week later, who knows? But you would at least think you would want to be able to bring in relatives and friends that are too far to drive. Especially, you know, high-ranking Jay probably has some Israelis that would want to be there. And thankfully, the government passed put Israel into the visa waiver program so they could just hop on a plane if they wanted to and get here and do it. You know, a week before October 7th. When they didn't complete the necessary things to be able to be included in the visa waiver program, we still put them in anyway. Strange enough. But seriously, how can you have a funeral for someone, especially such a prominent person, especially someone who's been murdered, especially when you don't have any suspects or anything? Like, don't you have to scour the body for DNA of the other person and hair and fingernails and all that? Don't you have to do, like, how do you have a funeral for someone within hours of them being killed?
What was the cause of death?
Stabbing.
And they did not catch the.
No, they had no idea. There's no way. It's just not a thing. How did the thousands, what are the logistics behind the thousands of people that got there? How did they get there? You know, how did all these over 1,000 people just drop what they were doing? When did the funeral actually take place? They talk about, but they don't give you any details as to when it took place. Was it at like 10 p.m. or 2 p.m. or was it a nighttime funeral? How did that work out? Sounds like a fake story to me. It sounds like when earlier in the year, when just before October 7th, when Israel claimed that 2 Hamas members shot up a gas station and killed 4 people. Now, so what if, just like with this, what if Samantha Wool actually died in a car crash? And they were using the murder as a cover-up because she was so drunk she drove home, or like what? But in Israel, they pull this off a lot, where it's enough people to have been involved in a car crash. It's not like it's, you know, these 2 Hamas with their machine guns are shooting up a gas station, but they only managed to hit 4 people. 2 people were girls younger than 25. 1 person was a little bit older, and then 1 person was elderly, supposedly. So the elderly person could have easily died from natural causes. And then the 2 girls, and then the other, they could have been involved in a car crash, something like that. Something could have happened. But they said that Hamas came and shot it up. One of those shooters ended up being shot and killed by the IDF. The other one was shot and killed by a settler. No trial, no story, no nothing. Just Israel giving us the narrative. That being said, within 2 hours, I believe it was 2, maybe 3, but I think it's 2 hours, the Israeli settlers had started what they call a rampage, where they get in a long line and they just walk forward, and anything they can break, they can destroy, beat up, whatever, kill, they do. While the IDF stands behind them and arrests anyone or shoots anyone who tries to stop them. It's called a rampage. It's common. The settler rampage that took place, they were mad over the 2 girls that had been killed. And they said that they waited until the girls were in the ground before they started the rampage. So in this scenario, within about 2 hours, they had the funeral. They did the investigation, cleaned up the scene, had the funeral, dug the hole, and then, they started their rampage. I wonder if there's an actual page for it now. Let's see. Israeli settler. Rampage. Oh, here we go. They actually have one. Oh, well, this is the Huwara rampage. This is the one I was talking about. On February, not February, 26th, I think this is it. 2026 or February 26, 2023, hundreds of Israeli settlers went on a violent late-night rampage in Huwara and other Palestinian villages in the Israeli-occupied West Bank, leaving one civilian dead and hundreds other Palestinians injured, four critically, and the town ablaze. It was the worst attack stemming from Israeli settler violence in the northern West Bank in decades. The rampage followed the deadly attack in which two Israelis were murdered the same day by an unidentified attacker in the area. So this is a different one. So two people were killed, two unidentified people, are they going to be unidentified people as well? Were killed by an unidentified attacker. And because of that, the settlers all over the place just used that as an excuse to violently attack Palestinians and their towns and all that. Like, this is the regular, this is news. This is not, this is just how it is for these people. Exactly. We all deserve to know the truth. Israeli soldiers were in the area while the rampage by the settlers unfolded and did not intervene. Well, they did intervene with anybody that tried to fight back. The rampage was called a pogrom by an Israeli commander in charge of the area. The same day, Israeli and Palestinian officials issued a joint declaration in Aqaba, Jordan, to counter the recent round of Israeli-Palestinian violence. They keep saying it like it's a back and forth. My dumbass neighbor said it one day. He was all mad, and he was trying to say that the Israelis or the Palestinians were given all these weapons by Russia or some shit. And Angela asked me, like, is that true? Did you hear about that? Because she knew I frequently read the shit. And I was like, no, that's not true. And he just got so fucking crybaby upset, swearing up and down that the Palestinians attacked the Israelis just as much as the Israelis attacked the Palestinians, blah, 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 blah. Just crying. Then he storms off because he can't take it. I'm pretty sure he's a J. And he's like, I'll show you. So like 3-4 hours later, Angela's outside, completely forgot about it. He comes running outside like, here, look. And she looks and he's like, see? And it's a story about how there are American POWs being held by Ukrainian forces.
I didn't even see what it was about, really.
That's what you told me.
I don't remember.
That's what you told me. And that was his example of how Israelis or Palestinians attack the Israelis just as much as the Israelis attack the Palestinians. Like, think about how fucking stupid it is. Yep. We ignore those critical comments. I should be reading the comments where you talk about my hair and my face and my blah blah blah. Because it's not like you're criticizing or critical of the things that I'm saying in any sort of intelligent way, but you think you're important and you think I should be reading what you have to say. In the rampage's aftermath, Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, piece of fucking shit, a settler leader in charge of the administration of the West Bank. A settler is in charge of the administration of the West Bank where the Palestinians live. How well do you think that's going to work out? Oh, wait. It hasn't worked out well for the Palestinians at all. I have more likes than viewers. Gotta love it. A settler leader in charge of the administration of the West Bank called for Huwara to be wiped out by the Israeli army. Condemnations from the United Nations, European Union, and Arab communities led to Smotrich retracting his statement and claiming they were Yeah, that's what it is. The rage in Huaro after the death of Palestinian gunmen of 2 Israeli settlers from an Israeli settlement near Huwara earlier the same day. The attack came juxtaposed against a joint declaration earlier that day in Aqaba, Jordan, by Israeli and Palestinian officials expressing a desire to work towards calming the latest round of violence, which again was entirely Israeli. Some 700,000 Israeli settlers, now live in the West Bank and East Jerusalem in settlements viewed as illegal by the international community. So if I get a job, should I be working like you are? Because you're apparently on my feed every time I go live. So when do you work? Or is this your job? This is how stupid these people are. This is how stupid they are. They think they get me with this shit, but then they don't realize how easy it is to turn it back on them. Because what's more important is me, not the big picture, me. They're just obsessed with me. I'm sitting here trying to talk about the big picture, but they're obsessed with me. Got it. Got it. Like, share, sub if you're watching. Hardline settlers in the West Bank more generally frequently commit violence against Palestinians and vandalize Palestinian land and property, but rarely on a scale of the rampage in Huwara. Right, there is no return. There is no Palestinians doing this, that, and the other. Anytime they say Palestinians did something, it's always some, unidentified or somebody that had already been shot, so there's no questioning that person. Like, it's all just the same stupid shit over and over again. Settler violence has generally been steadily on the rise in the West Bank in recent months, with Huwara previously having been subjected to an October blockade imposed by settlers and backed by Israeli soldiers. In the first 2 months of 2023, intercommunal violence led to the killing of 62 Palestinians and 14 Israelis. I'd love to see these 14 Israelis. I'd love to see how that worked out. 62 to 14. The year of 2022 was the deadliest. So 2022 was the deadliest, but 2023 was set to be a new deadliest year until October 7th, which somehow doesn't get included. Because the Israelis had killed 273 Palestinians by the time October 7th had rolled around. 273 or 243, I can't remember. So even if October 7th was actually real, and it was a real attack, which it wasn't, it's fucking stupid. But the fact that the previous 2 years were the deadliest years for the Palestinians, because Israel has the right to defend itself. Well, if the 2 previous years are the deadliest years for the Palestinians in decades, or it's just this steady climb, don't they have a right to defend themselves as well? Like, this part is just always so stupid to me. It's just fucking goofy, man. In the first 2 months of 2023, led to the killings. The year of 2022 was the deadliest for Palestinians living in the West Bank and East Jerusalem since 2004, according to B'Tselem, with nearly 150 Palestinians and 30 Israelis killed. It was way more than 150. Because what they do is they'll say 150 Palestinians were killed, but then there'll be certain operations where like another 160 are killed, but they're just not included for some reason. But again, Israel had the right to defend itself. On the night of February 26, 2023, hundreds of Israeli settlers. So again, this isn't another reason why, if October 7th was real, that Palestinians would have been defending themselves, right? Because attacks like this happen all the time. Hundreds of Israeli settlers attacked Huwara and 3 nearby villages, torching hundreds of Palestinian homes, some with people in them, businesses, a school, and numerous vehicles. One Palestinian man was shot dead. Although the violence had been anticipated and the Israeli military had cordoned off the area, to stop anyone from stopping them. The soldiers remained on the sidelines during the siege rather than intervene. Israel's West Bank Army commander defended the inaction, saying they had not anticipated the ferocity of the attack and were not prepared to deal with it. They weren't prepared to deal with a bunch of weak fucking inbred weirdos. I mean, if you've ever seen these settlers, they are some inbred, like, ugh, they look like fucking trolls. They look like Gollum from the Lord of the Rings. He described the event as a pogrom done by outlaws, a term commonly applied to Eastern European mob attacks upon Jays during the 18 and 1900s. Gosh, that's weird. The Palestinian Health Ministry said a 37-year-old man was shot dead by the settlers, while the Palestinian Red Crescent Medical Service said another 2 people were wounded by gunfire, a third was stabbed, and a fourth beaten with an iron bar. 95 others were said to be suffering from tear gas inhalation. Alongside the physical violence against the local residents, the settlers set fire to approximately 30 homes and cars, according to one source. Another source says 200 buildings. I bet the one source that said 30 was a J. 200 buildings were set ablaze in 4 Palestinian villages. Social media showed large blazes burning across the town, and the violence reportedly lasted throughout the night and continued into Monday morning. Right, they do things at nighttime, so it's harder to identify them. The day after the rampage, the rampagers were still in control of the area, and groups of masked Jays checked vehicles looking for Palestinians. That is terrifying. They're stopping cars and looking for Palestinians in your cars. Israeli soldiers nearby did not intervene. Reports of a large Israeli army presence in the town existed only on paper. Settler attacks on Palestinian communities continued through the 28th of February. See what I mean? So they say that it was 4 villages were attacked in this rampage on the 26th. And then on the 28th, or through to the 28th, there were more villages and whatnot attacked, but we're only going to count the 4 that were, you know what I mean? This is how they do it. They report it, like, they segregate how they report it so that it softens it, I guess. As of February 28th, of only 8 suspects detained in connection with the rampage, all had been released, 3 to house arrest. On March 1st, 8 further suspects believed to have taken part in the assault were arrested, one of whom was released the same day. The IDF commander responsible for the area, Major General Yehuda Fox, described the event as a pogrom carried out by outlaws. Oh, he described it that way too. Almost like they were told what to say. On March 2nd, the Israeli Defense Ministry placed 2 of the individuals, one a minor, in administrative detention after a Jerusalem court ordered the police to release the remaining 7 detained suspects. It's fucking insane, man. It's just insane. You understand that, like, Americans are being sent to go fight this fight. because they didn't want to. They used the protest that was supposedly happening from the beginning of the year until October 7th. Every Saturday, there was a protest because the people were supposedly upset that the judicial branch and the executive branch weren't getting along. So they were protesting it, with the caveat being that, you know, they all signed this pledge that if by some weird chance there was some sort of October 7th like event and then a subsequent genocide, that all of these Jays, who Israelis are required to do military service at 18, so technically all of them are reservists. They all pledged that they wouldn't answer the call if called into some sort of fight. Nothing like this has happened in a very, very long time, decades. But if it suddenly were to happen, they were going to protest by not showing up. And when this was announced, and thousands of them pledged not to take part in something that might happen, that never does happen, but it might. Jake Sullivan, Attorney General, I think he's the Attorney General, something like that. Jake Sullivan promised his Israeli counterpart that we got, for every one person that doesn't, or that pledges not to fight, we'll send 2 soldiers. We gotcha. We'll send over American kids to go die fighting for your fucking bullshit. Don't worry. But you guys are all cool with that, right? You guys like that shit, right? Just like your pedos, just like you're all for genocide, just, it's all the same stuff. You like molesting children, you like all this shit. Think about the fact that every single bris that takes place, which is a party, a circumcision party, where all of the family and relatives and whatnot come to the house to watch as the moil cuts and then sucks the baby. They watch this shit. And then they're all happy about it. Think about how fucking crazy that is. Think about how brainwashed and crazy you have to be to support that shit. Even if you say, well, our family doesn't do that, but I support other people's right to do that? Are you fucking crazy? Guys, this is nuts. This is nuts. It's time. It's time the Goyim unite and overthrow this menace. Reactions. Israeli Prime Minister dickhead douchebag Benjamin Netanyahu appealed for calm on Sunday evening as footage of violence emerged and spoke out against the vigilantism. Oh, I bet he did. Israeli president, because they have a president and a prime minister. Because, they have to have all these made up positions. So these people can have this power dynamic, but not have to work. The president doesn't do a job that none of us could do. The president does nothing all day. It's a great deal to be the president of the United States. You hang out, you get catered to, you're told what to say, you got to memorize some lines, and then you play golf all day. All the government officials. It's all bullshit. It's all this crazy brainwash shit to give them all the positions they want so they don't actually have to work, but they can still be paid really well and have a prestigious position. No government agent fucking works hard. None of those government representatives work hard. It's nothing. They literally sit around and go to fucking parties all day. Martini lunches and shit. Israeli President Isaac Herzog condemned the rampage, stating, "This is not our way. It is criminal violence against innocents." Says the president of the country who just, what? October is the 10th. So 8 months later, is committing genocide. Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, a settler leader now largely in charge of the administration of the West Bank, makes total sense, who had earlier called for striking the cities of terror and instigators without mercy with tanks and helicopters. Again, you know, the people with rocks and sticks. This guy who is constantly saying that they should wipe things out, that they should attack, blah, blah, blah. And, oh, well, it was just the heat of the moment. This guy is in charge of those same people. He's in charge of the administration to that area. That makes sense to you guys? It's just mind-blowing how fucked up all this is and how it's so obvious. It's written down on Wikipedia. It's right here for you to find it. Appealed to the settlers not to take the law into their own hands and to let the army and the government do their job. Yeah. Hey, we got better shit for killing. Just let us. But see, that's what so much of this is about. That's what Passover's about. That's what all of it's about. That's what the blood libel's about. These guys have murder boners. And they come up with crazy excuses like, oh, October 7th. Yeah, we were attacked with hang gliders and motorcycles. The most heavily surveilled, heavily fortified area in the region is attacked by hang gliders and motorcycles, and the attacks last for hours, and the Israeli government, the super fucking badass murderous Israeli government, does nothing about it. They attacked a music festival 5 hours later. 5 hours later, a music festival was still allowed to go on, and there was no security and of course, there's no footage of it. The only footage you can see is people running from something and hearing firecrackers in the background. You don't see anything that they claim. Let's see. However, Smotrich later called on Twitter for Huwara to be wiped out by the Israeli government. Right? That guy is the head administrator for the Palestinians. Gotta love it. Smotrich's remarks drew international condemnation, including from the UN Secretary General, Jordan, the United Arab Emirates, and others. The United States State Department demanded Netanyahu reject this remark. Hey, you better reject that remark. What kind of stupid shit is that? We're giving you a bunch of money and we're going to continue to. You better say that you reject that remark. Then everything will be fine. Don't worry about it. And Netanyahu was like, hey, fuck you. Don't tell me what to say. I'm not saying that shit. And didn't. He didn't. And we still gave him money. You know, he didn't, and said America needs to mind their own business. No, wait, it was Ben Gvir that's real famous for saying shit like that. Ben Gvir actually said in a statement that Biden needs to keep his mouth shut. These are matters that don't concern him, and that Israel is no longer a star on the United States flag. What do you think that means? What do you think that means? Do you remember Israel ever being a star on the United States flag? Oh well, I'm just crazy. Don't listen to me. Smotrich's remarks. This is remembered. The White House, the State Department demanded Netanyahu reject this remark. There's no which he did. Smotrich's remark came just ahead of a major fundraising event for Israel in the U.S. where Smotrich was to appear. The White House indicated U.S. officials would not meet with him, and various gay rights organizations called for the State Department to deny him entry. Other members of Israel's ruling coalition offered other sentiments. Zvika Fogel of the ultra-nationalist Atzmin Yehudit said he saw the violence in a very good light in response to a question on Army radio in which the interviewer referred to the rampage as a pogrom. Funny again how they all seem to say the same things. What's it like when you guys hear me saying this shit? Like, I know you put it out there, and we're supposed to read it, but you just probably don't think, like, we're gonna read it. You probably put it out there for your own so they can be like, haha, look at, haha. But what's it like when you hear us reading this shit and you realize how stupid it sounds? The investigation. On March 1st, Israel, this is just a joke. Israel Attorney General Gali, who gives a fuck, opened an investigation into lawmaker Zvika Fogel of the far-right Atzmin Yehudit Party and member of the Israeli government coalition on suspicion of indictment to terrorism. Fogel had publicly supported the rampage. 22 Israeli legal experts wrote to the Attorney General to investigate pro-settler government MKs, including far-right Minister Bezalel Smotrich, for inducing war crimes by their public support for the riots. Going further, Smotrich, when asked why he liked a tweet by Samaria Regional Council Deputy Major Davidi Ben Zion calling to wipe out the village of Huwara today, said, "Because I think the village of Huwara needs to be wiped out. I think the state of Israel should do it." And guess who was right in the end? So when I was telling you, because I knew all this shit was being said, I remember all this stuff. And I told you guys right around May, June, something like that, probably closer to April or May though, that if Israel didn't do the false flag attack and then subsequent genocide that came with it, by December of 2023, that I would quit doing this. There are more than enough people out there that can verify that statement. It cracks me up how they tell the truth at the beginning, then do their BS to get there. Right. Oh, it's fucking nuts. It's nuts. But I wasn't like some psychic who was, just sensing that this thing was going to happen. It was because I had been paying attention. I'd been reading Israeli news for quite some time. COVID taught me to read Israeli news, actually before COVID, but COVID really showed me that like every time you would read about something that would happen in Israel and then 2, 3, 4 weeks later, it would happen here. Just like the indictment, the leader, the former leader who is now running again while being under indictment for multiple fucking horrible crimes, is going to win an election, and then instead of making his crimes, his charges go away, he makes it illegal for people in his position to be charged with those crimes, so those crimes never happened in the first place. Like it's like Israel is the test market, and then they see how that works and do it here in the United States. And so reading Israeli news, like leading up to it, when I read that Israel bought 42,000 slaves, well, I say slaves, you'll say, well, the news said supervised laborers. Supervised laborer, that's a slave, especially when those slaves were those supervised laborers were purchased from Delhi, India, with 38,000 being earmarked for construction and 4,000 earmarked for elderly care. They weren't allowed to go do anything else. That's why they were purchased to do those jobs. And I thought, well, those are the jobs the Palestinians do. So they must be getting ready to get rid of a bunch of Palestinians if they're going to bring in 42,000 Indians, which are much more easily identifiable. And that's, so there was all these things that were building up, and you were just seeing all of these crazy events happening, and then you saw as all of the Israelis were signing the petition saying that they won't fight in whatever upcoming thing might or might not happen. It's all right fucking there. It's all, it's not like I'm making any of this up. It's not like I wanted any of this to be true. It just was. And it, once you realize that it has to do with truth and it's all factually based information, then what are you still fighting against? This is what you fight for? You're on that side? They feed off our ignorance. They have to. They're not strong enough. They're not good enough. They're not smart enough to best us. Every time the Jays go crazy and kick everybody out of Hollywood and then just make it all about them again, everything sort of goes way downhill. It's why for such a long time they kept making the same Western over and over again. They got some success with it, this idea that this Goyim had to make this Western, and it was real successful, so they just thought they'd bleed that thing dry, and it just became a joke at some point. Mafia movies, whatever it is. The Goyim come up with the idea, they get exploited, they get removed, and then the Jays just manufacture it over and over again until we're sick of it. And then after a while, the product becomes so stale and awful that they have to start letting us come back in. And they do for a little while, and then they just repeat, wash, rinse, repeat. I mean, just look at, okay, so Trump loses the 2016 election by 2.7 million votes. 2,700,000 more people vote for Hillary than Trump. Trump is running under the guise that he's going to drain the swamp when he gets elected. The swamp being the electoral college that's basically all Jays. That same electoral college, when he loses the election, puts him in anyway. Then they have the audacity to during COVID, when everybody's locked down and you're not allowed to see your grandmother dying in the fucking old folks home, you're not allowed to have events where you see your family, you're not allowed to travel, you're not allowed to, where they locked us fucking down. The one thing they said that we needed to do that was more important than anything was vote. Get out there and vote in your 2020 election. They love to do the whole black guys sitting around the barbershop talking about, hey man, we can't be talking bad about the government if we ain't be out there voting and shit, dog. Yeah, man. Yeah, homie. We need to get out there and vote. Because, our 13% of the population really matters. Like, it's so fucking dumb. But they know that black people are the creators of cool. So if they make a bunch of commercials about the black guys in the barbershop, then even white people will think it's cool. And every single day at that time, the news would run the story about the latest 103-year-old lady, black lady. She lives 3 hours away from her nearest voting institution, but she got a ride from her nephew. Isn't that right, nephew? Why did you get a ride to vote? Because Massa said voting is the most important thing that we could do. And if I want to be important, I gotta look important. I gotta vote important. And they would just show these same stereotypes over and over again. Because black people, in the 13% of the population that they make total, never mind that, At least 4% are probably children ineligible to vote. There's another large percent that are, convicted, can't vote. There's another much larger percentage that knows it's all just a bullshit scam and would never vote unless it was another Obama situation. Then they're quick to vote. But everybody knows, so they're not going to vote. So really, realistically, how much of that 13% do you honestly think votes? Maybe 3, maybe 4%, maybe. The Jays only make up 2% of the population, and that's the main thing everybody's worried about catering to. Got to make sure the Jays are happy. Before the black people, before the white people, before anyone else. You better make sure the Jays are happy. The Jays got Matthew. His head is up his ass and he doesn't know it. He knows. Hey, buddy. He's a fucking pot, man. He's a plant. He's a bot doing what he's supposed to do. Whether he's a literal bot or he's a human playing the role. Like, again, what American is going to disagree with this? What part am I getting wrong? It's all just, the only thing they have is stupidity. And they're hoping like hell that the stupidity is contagious enough that anybody who might be on the fence will second guess themselves. And think, oh, well, this guy's crazy. Maybe I'm not going to. No, I know he's making sense, but I'm not going to go with it because I don't want this to happen to me. I don't want people to call me crazy. I don't want people to stalk me. It's all the same. What part am I getting wrong? It's the same shit as with Epstein and Trump. They always want to ignore the Epstein connection. Trump, Epstein, and Stephanopoulos were known as the Three Amigos or the Three Musketeers in the New York night scene forever. Trump could have demanded that Epstein be kept in the highest levels, especially after he had already been attacked once, the highest levels of security. The CIA came out and said that they found in all 3 of Epstein's residences, they found a safe room, a little control room that was wired to the rest of the house with audio and visual recording equipment. In each of those rooms, there was a safe that was full of flash drives and DVDs and even VHS tapes of that on the outside of it had the name of the famous person, the name of the victim that they were with, and how old they were. They admitted to finding all of that. Fuck the Epstein list. Show me the tapes. Look at how Matt has nothing to say. Go do some more drugs, buddy. That's the best he can come up with. You actually have to feel bad for him. Because he's like fucking struggling, right? He sees how stupid he sounds. He knows he can't come up with anything better, so he's just like, what can I do? What can I say? This is typical Jay behavior. They're not smart. If you open the books on Israel, you demonize Israel smart. They actually thought that was a good thing to say. They thought that was a statement that would make them look like victims. When the average fucking, the average intelligence person just goes, well, how? If you're doing good things, how can you be demonized? But that's how stupid they are. Matt is a perfect representation of how stupid they are. They think they're saying good things, but they're not. He'll be here tomorrow. He'll be here the next day. He'll, because they're stupid like that. I mean, you have to appreciate the effort. Like I said earlier, these guys could be doing anything else in the world. If they really are real people, not just bots, not just fucking trolls, paid trolls. If they really are just regular old real people, they could literally be doing anything else in the world. Ask yourself, how did my feed at one point have 100 viewers and now it only has 6? How does that even happen? That's not how shit works. Shit doesn't go up only to go down as you continue talking about the shit you were talking about that made it go up in the first place. It's all right there. Now we're down to 5. It's all right there. They feed off of your ignorance. They hope you're stupid enough to not see it or to see it their way. When it's really, really obvious. And you know better. You already know better. You can feel it in your jellies. You know better. But you've been tricked. You've been duped. You think that it's God's chosen people, so you don't want to fuck up your ability to go heaven. Let's see. And blah, 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 blah. See, look at this shit. This is the best he can come up with. What the average intelligent person spends every day ranting on junk on live streams and getting high. What the average intelligent person spends every day ranting on junk on live streams and getting high. Yeah, you just proved me way wrong, dude. That was super intelligent. I'm sorry. I don't know why I would ever think you're a fucking idiot. Isn't that what you're doing after every day? Isn't that what you are going after every day, guy? Isn't what I'm going after every day? Ow. If you're referring to what that dumbass said, I don't even know what that dumbass said. At the end of the day, if you don't think that ending the pedophilia while simultaneously ending the J slavery over us all is important, you could probably more than likely, absolutely 100% find multiple other people talking about different things. Why you would need me to start talking about other things is beyond me. You could just go find anyone else talking about it. You must like the way I present things if you want me talking about something else. But this is, it's all just telling. Instead of just telling me what I'm wrong about, this is what it is. This is what I get. None of these guys are even going to begin to go into the well poisoning thing. They're not going to begin to. They can't. Let's be clear. I think any argument is going to lose weight when it comes out of a jobless junkie on a live stream daily. Yeah, well, that must be true then. So, like I've said millions and millions of times at this point, it seems like, if I, smoked all the crack, ate all the meth, and shot up all the smack, and drank all the alcohol, and I beat my wife every day, and I beat my children, and I kicked my dog, and I do all these horrible things, does that really take away from the fact that Israel is committing genocide? Does that really take away from the fact that the Jays have us under complete control? And they use that control to rape children consistently? How does the small picture of me affect the big picture so much? But this is what the desperate stupid ass has to say. Right? The desperate stupid ass, because, all this smack, these big old smack blunts, Super junkie. These guys are looking for anything they can to try to discredit what I'm doing and saying. And so is that how all of you feel? If I was, you know, what I do is way more important than the big picture, isn't it? Oh, We got another person telling me to worry about myself. I should not worry about all these children being killed, raped and killed. Right? What I should do is become a troll on YouTube, not even produce my own content. I should go try to hang on to other people's content, and then hopefully they'll pay attention to me. That's the sign of a real man. That's the sign of a good, that's who I should be. Make fake profiles and go troll people trying to get people to unify against the worst things we do. Oh, yeah, fucking A. 5 comments from Jorge. Exactly. You do it. If you sobered up and made a fact-based video, it probably wanted to blah, 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 blah. Yep. If I sobered up, because I'm just so fucking high. I'm so high that I'm reading stuff. Oh, how dare you read stuff? Again, this same desperate, stupid nonsense. What I do in my life is more important than stopping genocide and pedophilia, according to Matt. Because Matthew is just so obsessed with me that he knows everything about what I do off screen. And those things, that's the problem. It's not the genocide. The genocide's nothing to do with you. Don't worry about the genocide. You need Jesus. Fucking stupid, man. The best part is them thinking, like, not getting it. They just don't get it. If I sit here and I talked about how stupid my opposition was, and there were no examples of it, then I would look like I'm just sort of making shit up. And people would have a hard time believing me, especially since this shit doesn't happen on other people's feeds. These fucking goofy-ass trolls, they're not on Alex Jones's feed or whatever. This kind of stupidity is very unique to my page. But if they weren't doing it, again, I might look like a liar. Just people wouldn't be able to relate. They'd be like, what are you talking about? That's not how things operate. But when people see it, when people see the effort that comes my way, that refuses to address what's being said, and instead tries to focus on whatever dumb made up shit they can come up with, that's just as good as them telling me I'm right. They're telling me, yeah, you're right about everything you're saying. We just can't argue it, but, we're here to do a job, so. It's fascinating, man. It really is fascinating. Yep. So what I should be doing is getting in a plane and putting on my Rambo suit, going down there and taking Netanyahu out myself. How do you think grassroots operates? How do you think you get people to make those changes? You have to talk about it. You have to inform people. It starts here and then it goes to here. You don't just steal the underpants, step 1, and step 3, you take over the world. There's a step 2 in there, and you have to do step 2. Clearly, what I'm doing is such a threat that people will waste their entire day trying to get me to stop doing it. Not people, but sources, we'll say. Whether they're bots or they're the real people. But obviously, whatever I'm doing has you shook so much that you're here. day after day after day, trying to get me to stop doing it. If it was, oh, you're so entertaining, well, then you wouldn't want me to stop, that's for sure. But you're constantly telling me I should stop talking about these things that I don't personally experience. Stop talking about it. It's fucking weird, man. But it's also, you know, as weird as it is, it's just telling. It's what opposition does when they can't do anything else. Right? Thank you for the next example of it, person who's been here countless times for hours on end. When you can't debunk what somebody's saying, you try to shoot the messenger. Just that simple, man. If they were capable of doing and saying more, they absolutely would. They're just proving your point again and again, guy. I love it. Yeah, isn't it great? I mean, according to them, if they weren't here, I wouldn't have any viewers to begin with, right? And yeah, it was 100 earlier because it was just a fluke. People weren't into what was being said and all that. It's just fluked. You know, if they weren't so desperate to stop people doing exactly what I'm doing, Trump wouldn't be making it illegal. Trump wouldn't be cutting off the funding to Harvard and all these other schools for this specific thing. It's not like they're protesting a bunch of different shit. They're only protesting the U.S. involvement in and then the subsequent genocide that's taking place. These are human beings standing up for other human beings. You know? This is the laziest, worst generation ever. Generation Z or whatever the fuck they are. They're the worst. They're the ones who grew up with the mommies doing everything for them, and they're just the laziest, and they're the only ones to ever stand up. Hey, let's finish this. So, we read that Bezalel Smotrich thinks that Israel should wipe out Hawara, which they have. I just wonder how long till they see it. They're stupid. We're talking about stupid Israelis. Look, Dumb Girl just showed up to put emphasis on the point even more. Dumb Girl is one of the best ones at it. You know, everything she says will just put more emphasis on how stupid and desperate they truly are. And it's because of their fucking incredible arrogance that they won't see it. Even if they do see it, they feel like they have to fight. And because they feel like they have to fight, but they don't have any fight, this is the best they can come up with. Trust me, if they could come up with anything else, they absolutely would. All right, so Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, who is put in place by Israel to begin with, he answers to Israel, criticized events as terrorist attacks carried out by settlers under the protection of the occupied forces tonight and blamed the Israeli government. Right? Because they have to show you that even somebody in a position of power can say the same things and it won't fucking matter. International. The European Union noted its alarm at the violence, called on the authorities on both sides to stop this endless cycle of violence. See, every time you have a foreign entity talking and they say something like that, they're just perpetuating the bullshit. It's not a cycle of violence. There is no violence that comes towards the Israelis. The majority of them that get killed are killed in friendly fire type situations. Accidents, weird kind of shit like that. Because you can only throw a rock and a stick so far. And if you honestly think these poor peasants are somehow coming up with advanced weaponry that can get through the Iron Dome, you're out of your fucking mind. The UK ambassador to Israel called on Israel to address the settler violence and bring those responsible to justice. Why is it that such a small place the size of New Jersey has so much power over the rest of the world? All these places will demand that Israel do something to mediate this, do something to protect, do something, blah, blah, blah. And then Israel doesn't, and nobody seems to really care. They just condemn the next thing, you know? When Israel doesn't protect, they do the next thing instead, then the next thing gets condemned. Like immediately after October 7th, Israel just, it was like they had the planes already ready already. And they started their bombing campaign. And the Hamas, which is again just bullshit. It's ISIS, it's Al Qaeda, it's just bullshit. Hamas said they will give up the 250 plus hostages, not an exact number, if Israel just stops bombing. Israel, in response, was like, we don't do what we're told, and started bombing more. You know, bombing areas where supposedly they don't know if hostages are being held or not, right? Hostages could have been anywhere in those areas that were being bombed. And yet Israel bombed indiscriminately, wherever the fuck they wanted. Strange how that just seemingly works. You know, every time they said they would relieve hostages or free hostages, nobody knows the hostages are there. 11 fucking Israeli soldiers go in, 8 of them come out, and 3 hostages come out. Like, that's all they're doing. They're just having soldiers go in there, strip down, and then come out and be like, oh yeah, we were the hostages. It's all bullshit. You see these videos of the hostages kissing their captors, smiling, in good health, reporting on how well they were treated. The narrative is just so fucking stupid. It's just stupid. It's insulting. Oh, look at these dumb comments. This is the best they can do. You know, if you, let's see, alpha nutsack. Again, if Alpha Nutsack was so confident, her fat ass would make a fucking video showing that she's not some big fat ass trailer trash, and that she's an actual real person who's not just some big fat ass trailer trash. All of these fucking fake profiles refuse to prove they're real. Crazy how evil and twisted these people commenting against you are. They definitely aren't going to Havala. Well, I mean, it's you know, this is what real people see. They think they're making a point. You know, they think they're hurting me or hindering me in some way. But any of the real people here, they just see it and they're like shocked. Like, again, if I'm wrong, why do they fucking waste so much time and energy? I only have 12 viewers. You're telling me there's not somebody else that's you know, more dangerous than me? Why aren't they on Alex Jones's feeds? Why aren't they on Todd Church's feeds? Why aren't they on Anomaly's feeds? No, they're worried about me for some reason. Because remember, I need to stop being the most entertaining thing they have. Let's see. Shlomo's World. The UK ambassador called it the United States Department spokesman, Ned Price. I wonder what Ned Price is. Said violence underscored the imperative to immediately de-escalate tensions in words and deeds. What the fuck does that mean, dude? Why would you say it like that? Why wouldn't he just say, yeah, Israel needs to stop fucking killing so many people? If that was if he was on, the good side. CNN published an investigation on June 15th, finding that Israeli forces both failed to stop the riots nor protect residents against settler violence. A soldier told the network that soldiers and border police did nothing. We just let them continue to advance. Because that's what they do. See also, Israeli settler violence. It literally has its own page. That's how real this is. Palestinians are the target of violence by Israeli settlers and their supporters, predominantly in the West Bank. Now, where is the other side? What's the phrase, the word, the whatever that accounts for the Palestinian violence towards the Israelis? There isn't any. In November 2021, Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz discussed the steep rise in the number of incidents between settlers and Palestinians in the West Bank, many of which resulted from attacks by residents of the illegal settler outposts on Palestinians from neighboring villages. Many, all of them. All of them. Which is insane because it's the settlers they're settlers. They're colonizers. They're taking land that doesn't belong to them. And the idea that the Palestinians aren't supposed to fight back or fight for their land, it's just insane. It really is fucking insane. Settler violence also includes acts known as price tag attacks that are in response to actions by the Israeli government, usually against Palestinian targets and occasionally against Israeli security forces in the West Bank. Price tag attacks. Let's see. Price tag attacks, also sometimes referred to as mutual responsibility, is the name originally given to the attacks and acts of vandalism committed primarily in the occupied West Bank by extremist Israeli settler youths against Palestinian Arabs, and to a lesser extent against left-wing Israeli Jays, Israeli Arabs, Christians, and Israeli security forces. The youths officially claim that the acts are committed to exact a price from local Palestinians or from the Israeli security forces for any action taken against their settlement enterprise. Jesus fucking Christ, man. I hate calling them people, but these people are just insane. They are savages. Palestinian police are forbidden from reacting to acts of violence by Israeli settlers, a fact which diminishes their credibility among Palestinians. The police aren't allowed to stop Israeli settlers from attacking people, civilians. I can't even put it into context. Like, if this happened here, like, I can't even put it, what could it be? There is no, even if it was like the white people and the natives, but it would be the white people attacking the natives on the reservations while acting like they're the victims. I mean, it's so fucking crazy. Between January and November 2008, 515 criminal suits were opened by Israel against settlers for violence against Arabs or Israeli security forces. 502 of these involved right-wing radicals, while 13 involved left-wing anarchists. Oh, Jesus. I'm a right wing. Well, I'm a left wing. I'm a right wing. I'm a left wing. Like, do you know how stupid we sound? In 2008, the senior Israeli commander in the West Bank said that a hardcore of a few hundred activists were involved in violence against the Palestinians and Israeli soldiers. Some prominent religious figures living in the occupied territories, as well as Israeli government officials, have condemned and expressed outrage over such behavior. Yeah, but nothing actually comes of it. Some prominent religious Some prominent religious figures living there, as well as Israeli, have condemned and expressed, while religious justifications for settler killings have also been given. Israeli media said the defense establishment began taking a harder line against unruly settlers starting in 2008. In 2011, the BBC reported that vast majority of settlers are non-violent, but they all are violent. Of course they are. They're taking over somebody else's place. Somebody lived there and they took it over violently. Maybe they didn't commit the violence, but they sat and watched as their uncle did or some shit. But some within the Israeli government acknowledge a growing problem with extremists. UN figures from 2011. Why are we talking about 2011? This is fucking 14 years later, and the only fucking figures we're getting from 2011, 12 and shit. UN figures from 2011 showed that 90% of complaints filed against settlers by Palestinians with the Israeli police never led to indictment. Of course not. As soon as the Palestinian left, the shit got crumpled up and thrown out. In the 21st century, there has been a steady increase in violence and terror perpetuated by Israelis against the Palestinians, Israeli settlers against the Palestinians. In 2012, the EU Heads of Mission report found that settler violence had more than tripled in the 3 years up to 2011. United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OSHA, figures state that the annual rate of settler attacks, 2,100 attacks in 8 years, has almost quadrupled between 2006 and 2014. Well, I mean, 2,100 attacks in 8 years, that's almost one per day. Almost. Not quite, but almost one per day. In 2021, there was yet another wave of settler violence which erupted after a 16-year-old settler died in a car chase with Israeli police after having hurled rocks at Palestinians. Right. This is the kid that died, that the body was stolen, right? Right. They'll say this was almost led to October 7th happening back then. So far, it has resulted in 44 incidents in the span of a few weeks, injuring 2 Palestinian children. In the latter parts of 2021, there has been a marked increase in settler violence towards Palestinians, condemned at the United Nations Security Council. This violence increased further following the election of far-right government in 2022, which proposed to expand Israeli settlements in Palestinian territories, as well as the 2023 Hamas-led attack on Israel on October 7, 2023. In October 2024, Al Jazeera reported that there were 1,423 recorded incidents of settler violence in the West Bank since October 7th, in a year, with 321 incidents Ramallah and Alberg Governorate, 319 incidents in Nablus Governorate, and 298 in Hebron government. Yeah, there's so much more to read. I'm gonna have to do it tomorrow because I'm done. You guys have yourself a great day. As always, go get your free download, www.the-bilderberg, BILDERBERG-group.com. Oh yeah, my feed from yesterday didn't get uploaded for some reason. Not sure what happened, but it didn't work. Said error. It wouldn't let me upload. So go get that. Go get your free download. Go check out Hollywoodism and go check out the new song COVID Sauce. The music video link will be to the Facebook music video. The link will be in the description. All that stuff free. It's always free. It'll ask you how much you want to pay. Just say it's nothing and it's free. You can donate if you want to, but it's free. It'll also tell you that it's an unsecured, scary website. It's not. Just keep going, right? Keep going. I need to do something more productive than occupying the time of fucking pedophiles for a few hours each day. I don't think I could do much better. You know, as long as you pedophiles are here, you're not surfing the web for kids. So I'm okay with it. So anyway, go get those things. Have yourself a great day. And you pedophiles, come on, Watson. You pedophiles, go kill yourself.